So I think this is a really, really good topic for a video now because I am, yes, one of those idiots that likes to play around with tarot cards. And, everyone will sort of pounce on that sort of thing and say, oh, it's spiritualist mumbo jumbo, it's new agey, weird, mystical, you know, bullshit, pseudoscience nonsense stuff. Well, it's not even pretending to be science, I don't think. So I don't think it's pseudoscience quite. Also, like, what it is it's a semi-ancient method of divination, and divination has been with us since the dawn of our civilization, really. And, in this sort of like the symbolism in the tarot deck sort of harkens back to an age where, astrology was bound up with astronomy. It had alchemy instead of chemistry, but from alchemy we eventually got chemistry, and where within mathematics there was a very mystical element to mathematics, and it was considered in itself, or very often used as an instrument in divination. So this on some levels like connects to what has like become the tarot deck, or like what has become our Western methods of divination. It's kind of all fallen out of the folk traditions associated with the various philosophical schools of thought and scientific traditions, if you like, or the proto-scientific traditions. So I like to honour traditions like this. And on a personal level, while I don't necessarily believe that any reading of the tarot deck leads to a future that's set in stone, or a future that might not be altered in one way or another, or like I believe it is a tool for opening the mind to different possibilities that one might not otherwise have considered. So if you got a problem that you think is a really big problem in your mind, you want a tarot reading about this problem, you get a good reading or a more positive seeming reading, that can be a really valuable tool to sort of get you to maybe think about something differently, and perhaps see something from a different perspective, and maybe try to think about how this huge seeming problem might not be such a huge problem after all, if you see what I mean. So I did a tarot reading for myself the other day, and I'm going to just show you like how this really works, how I think about it. So and like how I think this relates to my life, or the sorts of inferences I would draw from a given tarot reading. So I'm trying to find the card that came first, if I remember what it was, which I do actually. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. So I got the Magician card in the first position in the reading, which represents the past. But the Magician card was upside down, is inverted, and this is really bad in a reading. The Magician has got this lemniscate infinity symbol above his head, and he's got like holding the wand up. This symbol of power, and this symbol of power through dexterity and skill in performance, or it references mastery of skill in general. Really is what the Magician cards represents, I think. And he has totems of the 4 houses of the tarot deck: cups, pentacles, swords, and wands. Then there are sort of a general kind of bit of foliage at his feet, and he's looking slightly down and he's pointing to the earth. So it represents a knowledgeable man, a man of expertise and learning and skill. And the infinity sign above his head is symbolic almost of infinite power for such a person. But upside down is like everything's wrong. Someone who's foolhardy, doing a slipshod job, not putting in enough effort, or they're disorganized or all over the place, and something's kind of out of balance. They're not really the maestro so much, but there's carried in an inverted reading possibly the suggestion that they could be, if they were to do things differently, right? So yes, that is not so brilliant to have as a card in the first position of a tarot reading, um, when that's inverted. So yeah, it's because I'm just mentioning this because I got a really interesting reading the other day. So like, I would take this to mean this magician inverted thing. Like, I'm a stand-up comic and a writer. It's almost as if to suggest you haven't been putting in enough effort into your creative pursuits recently. You're starting to regress, or your levels of skill aren't at their optimal levels, and something of this nature. So this really wakes me up to something that actually follows on very logically, and it's kind of, you find this all over in tarot readings where like two things seem to connect very well and very harmoniously with your life. So I got the Chariot next in the reading, but the Chariot was the right way up. So the Chariot is rather a positive card to have in a tarot reading. It represents in the present position. It represents like almost like, now I've got your attention, don't I? And you're going to be motivated and committed to really pushing forwards, and really exerting your intelligence and your skill and trying to regain that mastery. And the Chariot invokes speed. It invokes notions of success. It also evokes notions of focus and clarity of purpose. So that is a very, very positive thing to have in a reading, and also it's unbelievably appropriate, really, I think, to some extent, given the card that came before it. So that was rather unusual to have in it. Well, not necessarily unusual, since that does happen from time to time. It doesn't happen all the time. It's very often less of a logical progression, or it's less succinct very often. But so that was in the present reading. And the next card I got in the future reading was this. This is the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups, the House of Cups is associated with water. It's also associated with creativity and artistic expression, or like. Swords, obviously, associated with conflict and aggression and all this sort of stuff. And defeating your enemies. Wands associated with, so this is a very, very interesting card. There's a lot of symbolism going on here. So what we have is a guy with his back to us, turned towards a cloud with 7 cups on it, and each cup contains a different thing. So we've got the head of a woman. It looks like the head of a bronze statue of a woman. So I'm not certain what that's supposed to represent necessarily. It could be like false love, possibly, or like the effigy of a love, or something, or part of an effigy for love. And then the thing next to it, the white sheet over his head with hands poking out, and there's like a glow around the thing. Looks kind of scary. Looks like kind of like a scary ghost. Then in the top left, we have a snake in a cup. Clearly, we don't want that. Bottom left, we got a little dragon in a cup, little goblin creature. Clearly, we don't want that. Then there's next to it, a wreath in a cup, a victory wreath, right? Maybe we want this. However, notice the skull on the base of the cup. Not so good, possibly. Or is it like victory at a human cost? Or maybe we do want this. That's the other thing. Maybe you do want that, yes. And that's the thing to want. Because, maybe it's a victory that needs to be had against a hostile enemy force in your life. And this is why your magician was out of whack. This is why you're now in chariot mode. You're reappraising this, you should want this. And there's jewels. That's the false one, I reckon. And then there's this castle one. Fortress of Solitude. Forbidding sort of castle on a bit of rock. So not many of them are particularly good. And this one looks kind of forbidding because of the skull, but I reckon this is the one you should go for because it's as though, you know, you need a victory. Yes, there'll be a human cost, possibly a high one, but considering how you've been wronged, and that relates to my life perfectly. I actually did this reading a few days ago. I didn't interpret it correctly then, I don't think. I tried to do videos about it then, but I couldn't for whatever reason. Very strange. Very strange. But a very insightful reading. 7 of Cups. Also the Chariot is the 7th of the major arcana. So we've got a -1, a 7, and a 7. Interesting. But yeah, it does get you to think. It does. And it does open up, I think, corridors in thinking that otherwise might be closed to you, or that you might otherwise be set in. And it does, yes, act as a very useful tool to thinking, or an aid to thinking, usually about life problems, that I think is quite valuable, though I don't suspect anything supernatural or esoteric is particularly going on with these. Just a useful tool for a sort, psychic divination, mining the unconscious, if you like, for insight into your situation, how to improve it, how to solve problems in your life, and yeah, generally, and it can also be used for just having fun with, fortune telling divination. And yeah, for a sort of a way of having dialogues with yourself about issues that are important to you. So yeah, I would recommend everyone dabbling with tarot cards. They're very, very cool to look at. I love looking at them. I think they're brilliant. Each, image is so suffused with meaning, and great cards. I love the Strength card. That's a great one. What else do I like? Two of Cups is a lovely card to have the right way up. That's a very good card. It means more like friendship as opposed to like love, like the Lovers card. Oh yeah, the Star's cool. That's a very watery card, very creative. Lots of creative associations. That's everyone likes having the Ace of Cups in a reading, obviously. Well, any of the aces really are quite good having a reading the right way up. So I found my favourite card, which is the World, but which comes at the end of the tarot reading. Well, look, sorry, at the end of the major arcana. There it is, the World. I think it's just the most beautiful card, isn't it? It's great. So that is card 21 of the major arcana, and the Magician is the first. So it's kind of like when you get to the major arcana, I think it's like you're framing yourself as being the magician, and it's the magician's path towards completion. Since the World represents the finale, the completion, the ultimatum of a given event or series of events set in motion by the magician, the creative force, the performance force, the skillful creative type. So, and the World is the finished entity at the end, or the success at the end, or the finale, the climax, or not climax, but the ending. A satisfying, complete, sound, successful resolution to something. A completion. Yes. Lovely. God, the World is. Thank you for watching, everyone. Bye bye.